Colonization seeps through every pore of your being, and the colonizer is the power that defines beauty. Part of unpicking colonization is also understanding that we have power. And so, in many ways, we are halfway towards our own liberation. We have power to change the narrative, to change the story.
When we think about beauty standards or body standards around shape and size, we diminish ourselves, we ruin it. We're literally squashing something that almost, physically doesn't fit in many cases.
When you say Miss Pacific Island or Miss South Pacific competitions, it's just another version of colorism in a very public forum, and it's very accessible, and I think that's one of the dangers of it.
She would preferably be tall, skinny, her features nice and feminine and small. I mean, who else has small features? The Afrikasis, obviously. And those preferences are not only within the public, but also within the committee that are hosting these pageants, and also the judges.
Like the color of your skin, your hair texture, your build, having a more feminine talent, the swaying hips and all that.
We are Black, we are beautiful, we are the magnificent.
I was from a rough background. I was taken off of the streets in Maidens province just to take part as Miss Papua New Guinea, but it was intimidating seeing very tall contestants in that pageant who were also very light-skinned, and I was the darkest.
To be the only Melanesian here, really.
Right.
And I think it was God's purpose for me to bring out this message. I'm Black as the cocoa abundant on my land, as the night sky that guided my ancestors following the Southern Cross, and as my people of the Pacific. Different shades, but one and the same. We are Black, we are beautiful, and we are the magnificent Pacific.
The current reigning Miss Pacific Islands 2018 is Miss Papua New Guinea, Leoshina Mercy Kariha.
I did feel like an atmosphere change when I went up to say my speech.
From the bottom of my heart, I first acknowledge...
It was uncomfortable on stage, lots of yelling and being called black and ugly. I was a very young girl at that time. I was 18.
If you have a very dark queen in the pageantry here in the Pacific, it doesn't absolve you from any name calling, blackie, or, just meuli. I don't like the word meuli. It's just thrown out as a descriptive color. It does so much damage because words, woof, they pack a punch.
Let's welcome our new Miss South Pacific, Miss Fiji.
There was a YouTube snippet of the crowning, and then I scrolled through the comments and someone said, why is she built like a rugby player? Something like that. And so I was like, is this really what you want to subject young women to? It even inspired me to become one of the board members and becoming a chair for the pageant, because I really wanted to change some of these things. My favorite part after winning was that we went back a few months later And I was just going through the stalls, and then this couple of young girls, they ran up to me and they're like, "It's the Miss, it's the Miss." And then they came and said hello, and they're like, "Oh, Bula Vinaka." And then they're like, "We love you so much." And then one of them was like, I love your answer from the pageant when you said," and verbatim, word for word, my answer for my public speaking question, she just recited the whole thing. Our societies are entitled to leadership which is representative, enlightened, progressive, yet is culturally and gender sensitive. We, the women of Pasifika, are entitled to no less. I think they might have been replaying the pageant. That's why she knew it all by heart. And she was so excited to share it. And I was like, the goal was, if we can help influence or encourage one young girl in the village, then job done. We can still find ways to celebrate our culture as practiced by young women, our language, the way we dress, the way we dance, and all the beautiful things that are portrayed within the pageant, as well as the incentives of winning a pageant, of being able to travel and to represent your country and be an ambassador without being subjected to these colonial standards of beauty. And again, always going back to think of those coming after us.
Sometimes pageants are our escape. You know, we just want to see like pretty girls on the stage and be happy and talk about world peace. How do we really take advantage of the eyes that's looking at us and to not conform to what is expected of us just to be seen and not heard?
What I would say is that we need to unveil the parts of our culture that no one wants to look at. 9 in 10 women in Samoa is said to experience violence. With a statistic like that, of my sisters here, only 2 of them are safe from violence if they were living in Samoa. There's silence in this room right now, but I know that all of us know what I'm talking about. But that silence is dangerous. There is a lot of violence against women. There's a lot of abuse of our children, and there's a lot of incest that happens in our villages.
I was really scared. I wanted to talk about those who fall through the cracks. And that's not saying that it only happens in Samoa. I just wanted to tell the truth and speak from my heart. And I've gotten messages from people as young as 14 and as old as 63. I got a message from a 63-year-old woman who said it's the first time she told her husband about the abuse she experienced in her village. I don't take that lightly. Like, I really held those stories in such high regard and in sacredness because I wanted those people to feel seen. We can challenge what we are taught to conform into, what we are taught to sit like, be like, talk like, look like, because we know that that's not a generational lesson we want to pass on to our daughters.
For women like me, it's a sad reality, but I knew that I had to conform. We're very pressured by, I guess, that mindset, you know, the white standards of beauty. Being a Fa'afine or being a trans person, it's very, very hard. Our parents are conditioned, you know, with influences like religion. So even with my parents accepting me, my dad specifically, it wasn't until I got a job in the airlines, you know, as ground services and as a flight attendant. And then once my dad came to that realization that I can still be successful, like a lot of Fa'afine's parents are scared, I guess, of like the realities of our lives or where we go. Coming into my transness, into my womanhood, I've definitely felt the pressures of having to look a certain way in order to be successful, in order to survive, in order for, you know, the mockery to stop. Because I feel like for a lot of Samoan people, the existence of a Fa'afine is a mockery.
Keep it fresh! That was
I had a very dense experience of culture at home. Then I'd go to school and it was a very different story out in the burbs in Western Australia. My mum, all she was trying to uphold is like maybe just to kind of conserve things, like don't rock the boat, you know, essentially. Don't disturb the peace.
We are Hot Brown Honey, and welcome to the house.
I laugh all the time, I smile all the time. You know, I had a gap in my teeth, my hair does this. You know, trying to fit into that box of the dusky maiden stories of like long, beautiful, kind of straight, wavy hair that was way manageable and a tall, slender body that is light-skinned. It was the thing that I was very much the opposite. The shame that happens in those spaces, it can go from, oh, you're too big to be in this space. You're too big to look at. We're just so kind of wound up to be very constricted. It's like if you're a bigger person and you think that holding your tummy in, right, is the best way to like navigate the world, because then people will see you a little bit smaller, right? To let go of that breath and not care and do things that are right for you, it really opens a whole big gate to expressing yourself or understanding your needs and your wants.
I had a story on the radio and my kids were listening to it. And then at the end, I sent to my kids, oh, that was my story. And they were like, huh? Like they just did not recognise that was me. They said to me, oh, you sound like a white lady. And then that was the first time I kind of thought, like, you know, who am I? Like, and I realised I had conditioned myself to be more presentable to a wider mainstream audience in New Zealand. But it was a survival thing. I do remember growing up, I would do this thing with my hair where I'd brush it straight down and pull it back to make it look as straight as possible and look in the mirror, think about what it would look like to have a short, straight bob. That was like a dream for me. And definitely didn't think that wearing my natural hair was beautiful when I was 10 or 15. You know, I've been using that Dax and that iron on that iron board for a very long time, trying to straighten the culture out of me and, you know, change myself to look pretty much to what Western beauty standards would say is beauty. You know, having to be pushed to challenge my own beliefs about whether I'm beautiful or not in my natural state. I just had this huge conflict about, like, I cannot go on a camera without my hair straightener.
Welcome to breakfast, Malo. It's great to have you with us. They obviously can make a bit of the detail.
So when I went out on air and had my hair like this for the first time, I knew the statement that I was going to be making, not only to New Zealand, but to Pasifika women, Pasifika girls everywhere. And the next day, my social media inboxes and my emails were flooded with people, dads even, saying, oh, my daughter has curly hair, she doesn't know what to use, what do you put on your hair? And, you know, and people saying, I love your hair. You know, we all have to do it. We all have to strip off those layers of the stereotypes that have, you know, come with colonization about who we are. And it's hard, it's not easy.
Performing be a fraud. All right, we're on. There have definitely been challenges working in media. And like, I look back at hair and makeup obviously is just part of the whole gig, right? And I'm like, Fijian, I've got Fijian hair. And one instance that does come to mind, I remember going in to get my hair done and it took so long for them to get through my hair, and like just the comments of like, oh, I didn't realize your hair was like this, or oh, like you've got like Afro type texture hair. And even just like those small comments actually make you feel so crap because you're like, it's just my hair. Second part to that was sometimes going in and they didn't have my foundation color and having to see people take another person's color. And I'm like, that's not my foundation color whatsoever. And just the awkwardness of having to see them like try and make up a color for me. So I just spoke to my manager. I'm like, I need my foundation. Like, I need my own foundation when I go in there. Up into so many people might feel like, oh, it's being precious. And I certainly saw myself as being precious in those moments. But I thought, I deserve to walk into a room and my hair not be fussed about. I think I had the courage to say something because I was hurt by it. And I knew that nothing would change if I didn't use my voice. The best thing about any of the Pasifika shows that I'm currently involved in is that the thing that we're encouraged to do most is to be ourselves. And that's the most important thing. Good morning, crew. It's sometimes lost on me how important it is for me to stay in this space. And so when I think about my nieces, they now think every time the TV's on, oh, is Auntie Sera going to be on TV? And I think that's just so cool because when I was growing up, we weren't represented. And when I think about the possible influence that I'm having on the next gen coming through, for them to even believe that they're worthy enough to be on the screen, that to me is so rewarding.